Well, class, that's a lot of fun. The computer just absolutely completely froze. All your faces are permanently stuck on it, so we'll go to plan B. What we want to talk about today is a couple surgeries that can be done involving the skeletal system. The first one that I want to talk about is torn cartilage. What I want you to understand is how would it feel, and then how would it be treated. So cartilage is that white slippery stuff that's on the ends of a long bone, on the epiphyses of a long bone. What I got right here is the chicken leg. And then this joint right here slides back and forth. This is where the chicken's foot was. So I could feel that joint and it just slides just perfectly, smooth. Well, sometimes what happens is that this white cartilage, it's soft. And sometimes what could happen is, it just did it. It just tore a little bit. It just tore a little bit. I got like this flap of cartilage right there. So if we were zooming right now, we'd work on like, how would this affect the joint? Some people would say it hurts. And I'd say, well, actually it doesn't hurt. There's no like pain receptors inside of a joint. And then finally somebody would come up with the right answer. What's going to happen is it's going to catch. So I'm going back here. It just caught right there. I could feel like it can't go any further than that. So if I have torn cartilage in my elbow, it doesn't hurt, but when I go, I just feel like a little thing get caught in there. Then I can like force it through that and it's fine. And I move it back, it's good. But then when I go back here, I feel it catching again. So you go to the doctor, they see that you got torn cartilage. Well, how do they treat you? They treat you by just going like this. They just cut it off. And when they cut it off, problem is solved. And now the joint goes back and forth perfectly. Now, if we were in class, I'd show you a couple videos of this. And then I'd show you that inside the joint, there's like either none or very few blood vessels. Blood brings the body's healing kit. So since there's like no blood in this joint, the cartilage will not regrow. So that cartilage is going to be permanently gone in that area. All right, so there I went. I talked about how it would feel. You feel like you're just getting something caught in the joint. How'd they treat it? They just cut it out. Which brings us into the next one. If we were zooming right now, I'd ask somebody who's a huge Brandon Roy fan. Brandon Roy, the boys basketball coach for Garfield. Before that, he played for the Portland Trail Blazers. Before that, he went to the University of Washington. Before that, he went to Garfield High School. Great basketball player. While he was playing for the University of Washington, he tore his cartilage, and they had to go in there and they had to cut it out. He got drafted by Portland. He got Rookie of the Year. In the playoffs, that rookie season, he tore some cartilage, and they had to go in there and cut it out. The next year, he tore some cartilage, and they had to go to cut it out. He signed a big contract, and then right after his big contract, he tore more cartilage and got it cut out. So now, on the ends of his long bone, man, there's not much cartilage. And the epiphyses is made up of spongy bone, those needle-like pieces. So when the other joint goes over, those needle-like pieces of bone, they just start taking apart the cartilage on the other side. So what's happened to Brandon Roy is that on his joint, I drew this purple line that has all these dots in it. That's all the areas that cartilage has been worn down. If you see Brandon Roy walk, it's like painful for him because he can just feel the ends of the bone just grind on each other. So how are we going to fix Brandon Roy? Again, if we were zooming, we get a lot of wrong answers. So let me just cut right to the chase. What they got to do is they got to shave down the bone and make it nice and flat. So they're going to take his knee apart and then they're just going to shave the bone here, shave the bone there. Now that they got it nice and flat, it's going to be a great, nice, flat surface that they're going to attach a new epiphysis on. Where are you going to get a new epiphysis? You need something nice and strong. They're going to make it out of a great metal called titanium. So they're going to make a new titanium top and a titanium top of this bone, and then they're going to glue it to those nice flat bones now. So here we go. We're going to put it right there. We're going to put it right there. This titanium is going to be really slippery, so then when it rubs up against each other, it's just going to slide back perfectly. Got it. So, what we wanted to do is write down joint replacement. How's it done? You shave off the ends of the bone and make them flat. Put a new metal top on the ends of the bone. Now, if we were zooming, I'd show you a video of this. So now when we're done with this, I want you to go find a video on how a knee replacement is done. And they're going to show you how to do this. Brings us to the next thing that we want to learn about. I want you to know the anatomy of a knee. The knee, the femur, connected to the tibia, it's a lot of stress on that. I mean, it's at the bottom of our torso. When we stop, we got a lot of weight still going forward. So you need to have 4 ligaments that attach these 2 bones together. And I want you to know the names of these 4 ligaments. There's this one that goes from the front of the femur to the back of the tibia, through the middle of the joint in a crisscrossing manner. And it's called your ACL. No, you don't need to know it stands for the anterior cruciate ligament. It's just your ACL. There's another one that in this case, it goes from the back of the femur to the front of the tibia, through the middle of the joint in a crisscrossing manner, and it's called your PCL. No, you don't need to know it stands for the posterior cruciate ligament. Now, so there's 2 in the middle, and there's going to be one on this side and one on this side. I got to stand up. Towards the middle of your body, is called the medial. So right here is my MCL, and on this leg, right here is the MCL, the one that's closest to the middle of my body. The one that's on the furthest on the outside is my LCL, my lateral collateral ligament. So I'm going to write it up here. So going out here, again, pretending that it's going to be my right side. So on my right side, it's furthest on the outside of my middle of my body. It's called the LCL. Again, you don't need to know it stands for the lateral collateral ligament. The one on the middle is your MCL. Just gotta know where these are located and the abbreviations for them each. ACL, PCL, LCL, and MCL. Which is going to lead us into the next thing. An ACL surgery. How's it done? One of the most common one of these ligaments to get torn is your ACL. Bam. It's just torn. Now, if you're zooming, we go through a whole process on like, how do you fix this? Somebody will give us the wrong answer. Can you stitch it together? I go, you can't stitch it together because remember, there's no blood supply in here. So even if you did stitch it together, it's not going to regrow. So then we go, I guess we got to get a new one. Well, okay, if you get a new one, what do you have to do with the old one? Somebody would say, we got to cut it out. What we're doing right now is we're talking about how an ACL surgery is done. And the very first thing you got to do is you got to cut out the old ACL. All right, you cut out the old ACL. Now, how are you going to get a new ACL in? Somebody would say, like, can you get an ACL out of a cadaver? I guess you could get an ACL out of a cadaver, but then if you get like a new ACL, how are you going to put it in here and anchor it to the bone? And we go, that probably is not going to work. And I said, but I think you're onto something. You need some kind of material. How are you going to get some kind of material? We get a couple wrong answers, and then finally somebody would get the right answer. What if you use your own body? And that's what they do. Your hamstring is a pretty good muscle. So what they do a lot of times is they go in there and they get a piece of your hamstring. Here you go. Here's a big piece of your hamstring, right there. Now you got some material. You know, if you got a small hamstring, another thing that you have something big on that's not necessarily needed for that big is this right here, your patella tendon. The patella tendon holds the kneecap down. It's a really big tendon. You know, you don't need all of it. So sometimes what they do is they cut a piece of your patella tendon out. Anyways, you got this material. Now, how are you going to get that material in there? Again, we get a lot of wrong answers, but then finally we get the right answer. Yes! What they're going to do is they're going to drill a hole through that bone. And drill a hole through that bone. And now what they could do is they could just take this and then they could put it down here, push it through that hole, and I didn't get my holes lined up perfectly. Push it through that hole and that hole. Smartboard, get rid of that. Smartboard, draw it better, please. They're going to push it through those holes and it's going to go like this. Now, how are you going to anchor it in there? Oh, great. What they're going to do is going to put a screw right here into the bone. And then they're going to pull it tight and they're going to put a screw right there. And bada boom, bada bing, you got a new ACL and it's anchored into the bone. Yes, what's going to happen is that you're going to regrow the bone into this area. And when you regrow the bone, it's going to grow over that hamstring or that patella tendon. And now you got this thing holding these two bones together. So let's summarize how's it done. Cut out old ACL. Get new ACL, parentheses, either your hamstring or patella tendon. Next, drill a hole through the two bones. Next, put the new ACL in and then screw it to the bones. Again, if we were zooming, I show this video of this happening. So I want you to find it. I want you to find, just go to YouTube, ACL surgery. You'll see a couple great ones in there. When you'll do this, you'll see what the ACL looks like. It's like this big, white, strong, stringy thing. And then what happens when it's torn? And then you'll see them cut it out. You'll see them drill holes through the bone. And you'll see them put a new thing through and put in some screws on the top and the bottom. Class, we got no homework. We learned a lot this week. It's important to review your notes over the weekend or at the end of this class. Thanks for your patience, and I'll post this up to YouTube right now and then send it to you.